The Galactic Classroom. The lecture hall of the Galactic Institute of Studies buzzed with anticipation. Students from a dozen different species shuffled into their seats, appendages of all shapes and sizes adjusting holographic notepads and sensory enhancement devices. At the center of the amphitheater stood Professor Zixlaria, her iridescent scales shimmering under the soft bioluminescent lighting. "Today," she announced, her translated voice resonating through the neural implants of her diverse audience, "we delve into one of the most perplexing phenomena in the known universe, human mercy." A collective murmur rippled through the crowd. Tentacles writhed, antennae twitched, and bioluminescent patches flickered in confusion and disbelief. Krathax, a hulking Vorgan with chitinous armor and gleaming mandibles, raised a serrated limb. "Professor, surely you jest. Humans, merciful. Their history is stained with the blood of countless conflicts." Professor Zixlaria's multifaceted eyes gleamed with amusement. "An understandable reaction, Krathax. But I assure you, this is no jest. Humans have indeed evolved beyond their violent past, and in doing so, have confounded the expectations of the galactic community." She gestured gracefully, activating a holographic display that filled the center of the lecture hall. A blue and green planet materialized, spinning slowly. "Earth," she said, "the cradle of humanity. A world of stark contrasts and relentless challenges. It is from this crucible that humans emerged, forged by conflict yet tempered by an inexplicable capacity for compassion." The hologram shifted, displaying scenes of human warfare throughout history. Primitive tribes with spears, armies clashing with swords and shields, the devastation of nuclear weapons. "As you can see," Zixlaria continued, "humans are no strangers to violence. Their capacity for destruction is well documented. Yet, at the height of their technological prowess, when they had the means to dominate their world and potentially the stars beyond, they chose a different path." The images changed again, now showing scenes of peace negotiations, humanitarian aid, and interspecies cooperation. Ilara, a Luminarian student whose body pulsed with soft, bioluminescent light, spoke up. "But Professor, how can a species capable of such violence suddenly become peaceful? It defies evolutionary logic." Zixlaria nodded, her scales rippling in a pattern that indicated approval of the question. "An excellent point, Ilara. The answer lies in the unique cognitive evolution of humans. They developed something called empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, even those outside their own species." The hologram now displayed human brain scans, highlighting regions associated with empathy and compassion. "This empathy," the professor explained, "combined with their technological advancements, led humans to a startling conclusion: that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to show mercy." Krathax chittered skeptically. "But surely this makes them weak. Any species could simply take advantage of their mercy." He spat the last word as if it left a bad taste in his mandibles. Zixlaria's scales flickered in a pattern that suggested amusement. "One would think so, Krathax. Yet, paradoxically, this perceived weakness has become their greatest strength. Allow me to share a case study." The hologram shifted once more, now showing the tense standoff between a human fleet and an aggressive alien armada. "This is the Proxima incident," Zixlaria narrated. "The Draconid Empire, believing humans to be soft and weak, due to their reputation for mercy, launched an unprovoked attack on a human colony. The human response shocked the galaxy. The students watched, entranced, as the human ships easily outmaneuvered the Draconid fleet, disabling their weapons without destroying a single ship. Instead of annihilating their attackers, as was their right under galactic law, the humans offered peace. They provided medical aid to the injured Draconids and proposed a mutually beneficial trade agreement." Ilara's bioluminescence pulsed rapidly in excitement. But why? They had won. They could have taken the Draconid territories, their resources. Zixlaria's mandibles curved in what passed for a smile among her species. Because, dear students, humans understand something that many species struggle to grasp. Sustainable peace is more valuable than any resource. By showing mercy, they turned a potential enemy into a staunch ally. The hologram now showed humans and draconids working side by side on various projects, from terraforming to deep space exploration. This is the power of human mercy, Sixlaria concluded. It defies our understanding of evolutionary imperatives, challenges our notions of strength and weakness, and has the potential to reshape the very fabric of galactic society. As the professor's words sank in, the lecture hall erupted into a cacophony of discussion. Students debated passionately, their diverse biology expressing a whirlwind of emotions: confusion, skepticism, wonder, and perhaps, for some, the first stirrings of understanding. Zixlaria observed the chaos with satisfaction. This was why she loved teaching. The moment when a new idea took root, challenging preconceptions and opening minds to new possibilities. As the class time drew to a close, she raised her appendages for silence. "Your assignment," she announced, "is to research historical instances of human mercy and analyze their long-term consequences. And remember, students, understanding does not always come easily, but it is always worthwhile." As the diverse group of alien students filed out of the lecture hall, their minds were abuzz with new ideas. Some, like Krathax, still struggled with the concept, their ingrained beliefs about strength and dominance clashing with this new paradigm. Others, like Ilara, were fascinated, eager to learn more about these strange humans and their counterintuitive approach to galactic relations. Little did they know that their understanding of human mercy would soon be put to the test, as events unfolding across the galaxy were about to bring humanity's unique philosophy into sharp focus. The classroom was just the beginning. The true lessons were yet to come. First contact gone wrong. The sleek human diplomatic vessel, christened Olive Branch, glided through the star-speckled void of space. Its destination, the newly discovered planet of Zephyria, home to a species making its first tentative steps into interstellar travel. On the bridge, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes fixed on the approaching blue-green orb. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her crisp uniform bore the insignia of the United Earth Diplomatic Corps. "Status report, Commander Chen," she requested, her voice calm but tinged with anticipation. Commander Aisha Chen, the ship's XO, consulted her holoscreen. "We're on approach, Ambassador. Zephyrian Orbital Control has acknowledged our presence, but there's something odd about their response." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Odd how?" "It's terse, almost hostile. Nothing like the excitement we usually encounter during first contact scenarios." The ambassador frowned. First contacts were delicate affairs at the best of times, but this was unexpected. "Open a channel. Let's try to clear the air." As Chen worked to establish communication, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the mission's xenobiologist, approached Elena. "Ambassador, I've been analyzing the atmospheric data we've collected. There are some concerning anomalies." Before Elena could inquire further, the main view screen flickered to life. The face that appeared was distinctly alien, sleek, with silvery skin and large, multifaceted eyes. But it was the expression, unmistakably one of anger and suspicion, that caught Elena off guard. "I am High Commander Zorax of the Zephyrian Defense Force." The alien spoke, its words translated by the ship's eye. "State your purpose, human vessel." Elena stepped forward, adopting a peaceful stance. "Greetings, High Commander. I am Ambassador Elena Rodriguez of Earth. We come in peace, seeking to establish friendly relations between our peoples." Zorax's eyes narrowed. "Peace? Is that what you call it when you poison a world from orbit?" The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. Elena's diplomatic training kicked in, keeping her voice level. "I assure you, High Commander, we have done no such thing. We've only just arrived in your system." "Lies," Zorax hissed. "Our sensors detected your probes months ago. And ever since, our world has been plagued by crop failures and inexplicable illnesses. You seek to weaken us before invasion. Alina's mind raced. Probes. Illnesses. This was all wrong. High Commander, there's been a grave misunderstanding. We have sent no probes to your world. Please, allow us to land and discuss this face to face. We may be able to help with the problems you're facing. Zorax's face contorted in what Alina assumed was the Zephyrian equivalent of a sneer. You will not set foot on our world. You have one planetary rotation to leave our system, or we will open fire. Zephyria will not fall to your insidious tactics. The screen went dark. For a moment, silence reigned on the bridge. Then, everyone began speaking at once. Ambassador, we're picking up energy signatures. They're powering up weapon systems. The atmospheric anomalies, they're consistent with a severe imbalance in the planet's ecosystem. We're receiving data bursts from the surface. Multiple population centers are reporting health crisis. Elena raised her hands, calling for quiet. Her mind was already formulating a plan. Dr. Tanaka, I need a full analysis of that atmospheric data. Commander Chen, alert Earth command of the situation, but emphasize that we are not. I repeat, not retreating. Ma'am. Chen looked uncertain. They've threatened to open fire. Elena's eyes flashed with determination. And if we leave, millions could die from whatever is affecting their world. We stay. We help. That's the human way. As the crew sprang into action, Elena turned back to the view screen, watching the troubled planet grow larger. She knew she was taking a risk, defying the Zephyrian order to leave. But she also knew that she couldn't turn her back on a suffering people, even if they saw her as an enemy. Over the next several hours, the olive branch became a hive of activity. Dr. Tanaka and her team worked feverishly to analyze the Zephyrian atmosphere, cross-referencing it with the medical data they were covertly receiving from the planet's surface. Ambassador, Tanaka called, her voice tight with urgency. We've identified the problem. There's an aggressive microorganism in their atmosphere. It's not native to Zephyria. Elena frowned. Not native. Then where did it come from? Tanaka shook her head. We're not sure, but it bears similarities to extremophiles found in some of Earth's harshest environments. Our best guess, it hitched a ride on an asteroid or comet that impacted Zephyria recently. Can we neutralize it? Possibly, but we'd need to get closer to the planet. Much closer. Elena nodded, her decision made. Commander Chen, take us into low orbit. Slowly. Let's not spook them more than we have to. As the olive branch began its descent, alarms blared across the ship. Chen's voice was tense. Ambassador, they're locking weapons on us. Hold course, Elena commanded. Open a channel. The furious face of High Commander Zorax appeared once more. This is your final warning. Humans, withdraw or be destroyed. Elena met his gaze steadily. High Commander, we've identified the source of your planet's illness. It's not a weapon, but a microorganism, likely introduced by a celestial impact. We can help, but we need to enter low orbit. Please, for the sake of your people, let us assist you. Zorax's multifaceted eyes flickered with uncertainty. And why should we trust you? Because, Elena said softly, we're putting ourselves at your mercy to save your world. If we wanted to harm you, why would we place ourselves within range of your weapons? For a long moment, Zorax was silent. Then, grudgingly, he nodded. Very well. But know that if this is a trick, you will not leave our world alive. As the transmission ended, Elena let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. They had a chance now. A chance to prove that humanity's intentions were pure. Dr. Tanaka, she called, begin atmospheric dispersal of the countermeasure. Let's show the Zephyrians what human mercy really means. As the olive branch moved into position, Elena watched the planet below. In the face of suspicion and hostility, They had chosen to help rather than retreat. It was a risk, yes, but one that embodied the very essence of humanity's philosophy. The first droplets of the countermeasure began to fall through Zephyria's atmosphere, carrying with them the hope for a new understanding between two very different peoples. The true test of human mercy had begun. The battle that never was. The tense standoff between the human diplomatic vessel Olive Branch and the Zephyrian Defense Force stretched into its second day. On the bridge of the human ship, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez watched the holographic display of Zephyria with a mixture of hope and apprehension. "Status report, Dr. Tanaka," she called, turning to the xenobiologist who had barely left her station since they began dispersing the countermeasure. Yuki Tanaka looked up from her console, dark circles under her eyes betraying her exhaustion. "The countermeasure is working, Ambassador. We're seeing a 60% reduction in atmospheric contaminants, and reports from the surface indicate a marked improvement in crop yields and public health." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Excellent work, Doctor, and the Zephyrians." Commander Chen chimed in, her voice tense. "Still wary, ma'am. They've maintained their defensive posture, but haven't made any aggressive moves. They're watching." As if on cue, the main view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern visage of High Commander Zorax. His multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with a complex mix of emotions. "Human Ambassador," he began, his translated voice carefully neutral. "Our scientists confirm that the atmospheric contamination is indeed receding. You appear to have told the truth about your intentions." Elena stepped forward, her posture open and non-threatening. "I'm glad to hear it, High Commander. We only wish to help. Perhaps now we can discuss." She was cut off by a sudden alarm. Chen's fingers flew over her console. "Ambassador, we're detecting multiple ships entering the system. They're not Zephyrian." The view screen split, showing a fleet of sleek, predatory-looking vessels approaching rapidly. Zorax's expression shifted to one of alarm. "Grakon raiders," he hissed. "They must have detected your ship and assumed we were weakened. Ambassador, you must flee. We will handle this threat." Elena's mind raced. The Zephyrians, still recovering from their environmental crisis, were in no condition to repel an invasion. Yet if the humans intervened, it could be seen as an act of war against the Grakon. She made her decision in a heartbeat. "High Commander, allow us to assist you. We have the technology to repel these raiders without bloodshed." Zorax's eyes widened in surprise. "You would fight for us, after how we treated you?" "Not fight," Elena corrected gently. "Protect. There's a difference." She turned to her crew. "Commander Chen, activate the Aegis Protocol. Dr. Tanaka, prepare to extend our atmospheric shields to cover the planet." As the crew sprang into action, the Grakon fleet entered weapons range. Their leader, a scared warrior with cybernetic enhancements, appeared on the view screen. "Zephyrians," he growled, "your world is ripe for conquest. Surrender now, and we may spare your lives." Before Zorax could respond, Elena stepped into view. "This is Ambassador Elena Rodriguez of Earth. The planet Zephyria is under our protection. We ask you to withdraw peacefully." The Grakon leader laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Humans, your reputation for weakness precedes you. Stand aside, or be destroyed with the rest." Elena's eyes hardened. "I'm sorry you feel that way. Commander Chen, activate the Aegis." Suddenly, a shimmering energy field expanded from the Olive Branch, enveloping not just the human ship but the entire planet of Zephyria. The Grakon ships fired, their energy weapons dissipating harmlessly against the shield. "What is this trickery?" the Grakon leader snarled. "Not trickery," Elena replied calmly. "Technology used in defense rather than aggression. Your weapons cannot penetrate the shield, but neither can ours harm you. We are at an impasse." The Grakon ships continued their barrage, to no effect. Minutes stretched into hours, with the raiders trying increasingly desperate tactics to breach the Aegis shield. Throughout it all, the olive branch remained stationary, a silent guardian over Zephyria. Finally, the Grakan leader reappeared on the view screen, his cybernetic eye twitching in frustration. "How long do you think you can maintain this shield, human?" "We can wait." Elena smiled serenely. "Indefinitely, actually. The Aegis is powered by our zero-point energy reactor. We could maintain this shield for years if necessary. The question is, how long can you afford to waste your time and resources here?" The Grakan leader's face contorted in rage, but Elena could see the calculation in his eyes. After a long moment, he spat out, "This world is not worth the effort. We will seek easier prey." As the Grakan fleet began to withdraw, Elena turned to see High Commander Zorak staring at her in amazement. "You could have destroyed them," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "Why didn't you?" Elena's expression was gentle but firm. "Because that's not our way, High Commander. We believe that true strength lies not in the ability to take life, but in the choice to preserve it, even the lives of those who would do us harm." Zorax was silent for a long moment, his alien features unreadable. Then, slowly, he bowed his head. "Ambassador Rodriguez, I believe we have much to learn from your people. Would you and your crew do us the honor of coming to the surface as our guests? It seems we have much to discuss about the future of our worlds." As Elena accepted the invitation, she could feel the shift in the air. This was more than just a diplomatic victory. It was a fundamental change in how the Zephyrians viewed humanity, and perhaps in how they viewed the universe. The battle that never was had ended, not with destruction, but with understanding. And as the olive branch prepared to land on Zephyria, Elena knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in galactic relations, one founded on the principles of mercy, compassion, and the strength that comes from choosing peace. Lessons in compassion. The capital city of Zephyria shimmered under the light of its twin moons, its crystalline structures refracting the soft glow into a dazzling display of colors. Inside the Grand Hall of Communion, an unprecedented gathering was taking place. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood before a diverse assembly of Zephyrian leaders, scientists, and citizens. The atmosphere was charged with a mixture of curiosity, lingering suspicion, and growing admiration. High Commander Zorax, once their fiercest critic, now stood beside Elena, his posture reflecting a newfound respect. "Esteemed members of Zephyrian society," Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the translator devices, "I stand before you not as a conqueror or a savior, but as a friend and potential ally. The events of the past few days have been challenging for all of us, but they have also opened a door to understanding." She gestured to the holographic display behind her, showing images of Earth and its diverse ecosystems and cultures. Humanity's journey to the stars was not an easy one. Like you, we faced environmental crises, internal conflicts, and external threats. But through it all, we learned a crucial lesson, that the path of aggression and domination leads only to mutual destruction. The images shifted, now showing historical footage of Earth's wars, followed by scenes of reconciliation and cooperation. We realized that true strength lies not in our ability to destroy, but in our capacity to build, to heal, and to show mercy even to those who might wish us harm. A murmur rippled through the crowd. One Zephyrian, a scientist by the looks of her attire, raised a hand. "But how can mercy be a strength? Surely it leaves you vulnerable to those who would take advantage of your kindness." Elena smiled, appreciating the question, a valid concern, and one that we grappled with for generations. "But consider this. When we showed mercy to the Grakan raiders, sparing their lives, and merely denying them their prize, what did we gain?" High Commander Zorak stepped forward, his multifaceted eyes gleaming with newfound insight. "You avoided unnecessary bloodshed, preserved your resources, and—" He paused, realization dawning. "And you showed the galaxy that you possess power beyond mere weapons. You demonstrated that you could have destroyed them, but chose not to." Exactly, Elena nodded. In doing so, we not only protected Zephyria, but also sowed the seeds of doubt in the minds of potential aggressors. They now must question whether confrontation with humanity is worth the risk. The holographic display changed again, this time showing the dispersal of the countermeasure that had saved Zephyria's ecosystem. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stepped forward to explain the science behind it, her excitement palpable as she engaged with her Zephyrian counterparts. As the presentation continued, Elena could see the change happening in real time. The Zephyrians, initially wary and defensive, were opening up. Questions flowed freely, no longer tinged with suspicion, but with genuine curiosity and growing enthusiasm. One young Zephyrian, barely more than a child by their standards, raised a tendril-like appendage. But what if someone really wants to hurt you? Don't you have to fight back sometimes? Elena knelt down to the child's level, her voice gentle. Sometimes, yes, we will defend ourselves and others if we must. But we always strive to find a solution that preserves life rather than takes it. It's not always easy, but we believe it's always worth trying. As the session wound down, High Commander Zorax addressed his people. Fellow Zephyrians, we stand at a crossroads. For too long, we have viewed the galaxy as a place of threats and competition. The humans have shown us another way. I propose that we not only accept their offer of alliance, but that we also learn from their philosophy of mercy and compassion. The Grand Hall erupted in a cacophony of agreement, the Zephyrians expressing their approval in a dazzling display of color changes and harmonic vocalizations. As the formal proceedings concluded, Elena found herself surrounded by Zephyrians eager to learn more. Scientists discussed potential collaborations, artists pondered how to incorporate these new ideas into their works, and leaders debated the implications for Zephyrian governance and interstellar policy. Amidst the excitement, Dr. Tanaka approached Elena, her eyes shining with tears of joy. Ambassador, do you realize what we've accomplished here? It's not just an alliance. It's a fundamental shift in their worldview. The ripple effects of this could change the entire sector. Elena nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. It's a good start, Yuki. But remember, change doesn't happen overnight. We've planted the seeds, but it will take time and nurturing for them to grow. As the celebrations continued around them, Elena's mind turned to the future. The Zephyrians were just one species in a vast galaxy. How many others might benefit from this philosophy of mercy and compassion? And how might the galaxy change if more civilizations embraced this approach? The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it seemed bright with promise. The lesson in compassion had been given, and its first students were eager to learn more. As Elena looked out over the glittering Zephyrian capital, she knew that this was just the beginning of a new era in galactic relations. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if in approval of the new understanding dawning on the small corner of the cosmos. A new galactic order. 5 years had passed since the fateful first contact between humans and Zephyrians. The Grand Galactic Assembly on Neutral Space Station, Harmony 1 buzzed with activity as representatives from 100 different species converged for an historic occasion. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, now sporting a few more gray hairs, but with eyes still bright with purpose, stood at the podium. Beside her was High Commander Zorax, his once stern features now relaxed into what Elena had learned was a Zephyrian smile. Distinguished representatives of the galaxy, Elena began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. Today marks a turning point in our shared history. 5 years ago, a misunderstanding nearly led to conflict between humans and Zephyrians. Instead, it became the catalyst for a new way of thinking, a new approach to interstellar relations. The holographic displays around the chamber flickered to life, showing scenes from the past 5 years. Joint human-Zephyrian scientific expeditions, cultural exchanges, and collaborative efforts to heal damaged ecosystems across multiple worlds. Zorax spoke next, his translated voice filled with conviction. What the humans call mercy, this radical idea of strength through compassion, has transformed our society. We have seen firsthand how choosing understanding over aggression, cooperation over competition, can yield benefits beyond our wildest dreams. A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly. Many of the gathered species had their own stories of how this new philosophy had impacted their worlds. The Grakan representative, once part of the raiding party that threatened Zephyria, now stood as an advocate for peaceful trade. "We came seeking conquest," he rumbled, "and found instead a new path to prosperity. The humans and Zephyrians showed us that there is more to be gained in building together than in tearing each other apart." As more representatives shared their experiences, a common theme emerged. Worlds that had adopted the principles of mercy and compassion were seeing unprecedented advancements in science, culture, and quality of life. Conflicts that had raged for generations were being resolved through dialogue and mutual understanding. Professor Zixelaria, the xenobiologist who had first introduced her students to the concept of human mercy years ago, now addressed the assembly. "What we are witnessing is nothing short of an evolutionary leap in galactic civilization. By choosing cooperation over conflict, by valuing life in all its forms, we are unlocking potential that we never knew existed." As the session progressed, proposals were put forward for a new galactic charter, one that would enshrine the principles of mercy, compassion, and mutual aid as the cornerstones of interstellar relations. Elena watched with a sense of awe as species that had once been bitter enemies now worked together, finding common ground and shared purpose. The galaxy was changing, not through force or domination, but through understanding and choice. As the assembly drew to a close, a young Luminarian delegate, Elena recognized her as Ilara, once a skeptical student in Professor Zixelaria's class, approached the podium. "Esteemed colleagues, Ilara's bioluminescent form pulsed with excitement. I propose that we commemorate this moment by establishing a new galactic initiative. Let us create a corps of peacekeepers and diplomats, trained in the principles we've discussed here, ready to offer aid and mediation wherever it's needed across the stars." The chamber erupted in enthusiastic agreement. As the details were hashed out, Elena felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Dr. Yuki Tanaka, now the head of a multi-species scientific consortium. "Did you ever imagine it would come to this?" Yuki asked, her eyes shining with emotion. "When we first set out on the olive branch, did you think we'd be changing the course of galactic history?" Elena shook her head, a smile playing on her lips. "Honestly, I was just hoping we'd make it through first contact without starting a war. This is beyond anything I could have dreamed." As the newly christened galactic peacekeepers began to take shape, with species after species pledging support and resources, Elena reflected on the journey that had brought them here. It hadn't always been easy. There had been setbacks, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt. But the core principle, that mercy and compassion were strengths, not weaknesses, had proven itself time and time again. The assembly concluded with a ceremony unlike any the galaxy had seen before. Representatives from 100 worlds, each placing a small token of their homeworld into a shared vessel, a symbol of their commitment to this new path. As Elena watched, she felt a profound sense of hope for the future. The stars no longer seemed cold and distant, but full of possibility and new friendships waiting to be forged. Ambassador Rodriguez, High Commander Zorax said softly, using the human gesture of placing a hand on her shoulder, "Your people have given the galaxy a great gift. The gift of a new perspective." Elena nodded, her voice thick with emotion. "And your people, all the peoples here, have given us something equally precious. The knowledge that we're not alone in believing a better way is possible." As the delegates began to disperse, already making plans for the implementation of their new charter, Elena's gaze drifted to the vast star field visible through the station's windows. Somewhere out there, she knew, were other civilizations yet to be discovered. Other opportunities to share this message of mercy and compassion. The journey was far from over. In fact, it felt like it was just beginning. But now, The galaxy faced that journey not as isolated species competing for resources, but as a community united in a shared vision of a more compassionate cosmos. As the last of the delegates filed out, Elena remained, watching the stars. The future was unwritten, full of challenges yet to come. But for the first time in galactic history, those challenges would be faced with a new understanding, that the greatest strength lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to nurture, to understand, and to show mercy. The age of compassion had dawned, and its light was spreading across the stars.